Hello. All right, let's get started with the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle campaign. First of all, it's already working because everybody's talking about it. What are they talking about? Well, this is great. This becomes a question of whose side are you on? Not whose side are you on. Let me rephrase this. Who looks more who looks more attractive to you, not even outside, but primarily inside. And then of course the outside is obvious too. Let's go to a typical crazed leftist actually no. I don't want to say that. A typical crazed left. No. Let's go to an overweight, unattractive chick with rings on her face complaining about, all the stuff that, they used to get away with on the left, complaining about trying to cancel us and everything. Let me just play this turd, um, on social media, and then there's a whole article about this too. All the left is trying to cancel American Eagle, Sydney Sweeney, the whole new, campaign they've launched.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like a blonde haired, blue eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
It's like a double entendre, my good genes, like, as in I'm obviously very attractive, but also about the genes. So now comes an unhappy, mentally unstable, um, self shameful. She feels shameful for being white and self disdain, self hatred, perhaps. This remember the studies that have been done. Actually, these are Nate Silver, the revered Democrat pollster. He had self reporting survey. And remember the one that just came out a month or 2 ago, maybe a little less, that the Democrats self-report being having much more mental health issues, needing mental health, uh, counselors, feeling depressed, feeling all sorts of sense of doom and gloom. And then the conservative Republican side, not that it's always right or perfect, but the conservative and Republican side reported much healthier, much happier. Why? Because we have God, because we have marriage. I'm very proud to say that I'm married now 25 years. Praise God for that. Um, we're just happier. And so this is a really good test. It's a really good test because they're trying to cancel Sydney Sweeney, cancel American Eagle for her um, campaign where she's half naked with jeans on and stuff like that. Um, Ultimately, this is either good or evil. And I'm not saying this chick is evil, but I'm saying ultimately this is either good or evil. Good or evil. You are not allowed to have fun. You are not allowed to be risque and racy in a mainstream way. And you can't celebrate your looks and you can't have fun and you can't do double entendre. You have to be afraid of being white. You have to be afraid of being hot. You have to be afraid of offending fools like this. Here's all the crazy people that are outraged on social media. This is a story in the Daily Mail today. The phrase "great genes" is historically used to celebrate whiteness, thinness, and attractiveness, which makes this campaign a tone-deaf marketing movie, says Salon Magazine. One woman on here's some of the TikTok and other stuff, the leftists getting mad. Uh, it's panning, I think this person meant to say, panning up her body and on her face and her features. She's literally talking about her family tree and genetics that have been handed down to her blonde hair, her blue eyes, and how great they are. Another one says, praising Sydney Sweeney for her great genes makes one of the loudest, most obnoxious racialized dog whistles we've seen and heard in a while. So here you have a choice. Do you wanna go with the unattractive, mentally unstable, unhappy people? Or do you wanna just, you don't even have to agree with the campaign. The point is, or do you wanna be on the other side who doesn't care or who lives happy and doesn't look for things to cancel or things to be outraged about? And that's where it's good or evil, good versus evil. You can't have fun. You can't celebrate this. You can't laugh. You can't do this or that. You're an oppressor. I was listening to an in-depth Mark Levin, Fox News, his weekend show. This time around, he had Hannity interview him about his new book, Levin, and he's talking about the oppressor oppressed. And so this is the whole thing where if you're white, you're an oppressor. You can't celebrate your beauty. It doesn't matter what color you are. The point is you can't celebrate your beauty if you're a certain skin color. Who's the one that's got a racial issue? You know what I mean? Um, You can't be happy. You can't be sassy. You have to be miserable and outraged by everything. That is so 2020 with St. George Floyd. Blessed be his name. The man who died from a drug overdose while in the custody of Minneapolis police. You remember in 2020, you can see all these memes online comparing this and other campaigns. And you see in 2020, they had these obese women, these obese people of color were featured in like lingerie, like what do you call it? What's the what's the lingerie? Victoria's Secret and Nike. They had all these obese people of color as their celebrities or they're not their features in their ads. And now they're back to a Sydney Sweeney or whatever, regardless of your color. So they're locked in 2020, and it's good for our side politically, but ultimately they want to tear down us and anybody who's having fun or who's not the right color, and they want to demand an apology, and they want to bring us and everybody else to heel. And no, I'm not going backwards, and no, I'm not going to be miserable, and no, you're not going to make me miserable. Here's a few more comments. And by the way, this is just like the Dixie Chicks. One person says that's attacking it says, "We're never shopping at American Eagle again." You never did! We're not gonna listen. You need to play the Dixie Chicks on country music. You didn't listen to that crap before. Get out of here, you losers. These same people would have made country music stations play the Dixie Chicks when that controversy under George Bush, when they criticized them, from Europe. They would have made, and they were trying to make the Dixie Chicks be played in country music when the listeners of country music didn't want it. Um, these people do not buy American Eagle. Period. And that's the irony of it all. We're not going to buy your product. You don't buy it anyways. You're not about looking good. Many people are. Have you ever seen these people that are all mad about this? Do you think any of these people are attractive and they're out there, they're wearing in fashion clothes? No. Many people panned the tone. It's giving subtle 1930s Germany, says one. Another one says, close enough. Welcome back to 1930s Germany. Another one says, it's what happens when you've no people of color in the room, particularly in a time like this. And again, that's the whole shame, and that's the good versus evil. Shame, shame, shame. Oppressor, oppressor. It's a lie. And that is the ultimate lean of uh, the Marxist left in America, which is the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, the Zoran Mandamis, that crazed fool up in Minneapolis that wants to be the next mayor of Minneapolis. God help those poor fools if they elect him. Um, Here's another one. This campaign got so caught up on this quote clever play on words, the stunt. People in the room missed that it was so blatantly obvious to anyone not white. I'd expect this from Abercrombie, but not y'all. Anyways, this is just the miserable people. Another one says this is just such an effed up campaign, while another one says it's weird as whatever. Okay, so anyways, there you have that. I want to be on the happy, fun side, and these people can be miserable, and they can go take a crap in a lake, as my Jewish friend Jason, who stood up in my wedding and I stood up in his. The Yiddish phrase, he's a Jew, a good Jewish friend of mine, is "Gekach nach Mignon." That's Yiddish for "go take a crap in a lake." There you go, lady. Go take a crap in a lake. All y'all. Okay, here is now insert a Democrat in Houston's 18th congressional district. He wants to get the nomination for the Democrat. So what does he do? He goes to Austin, goes to a public hearing, and decides to go nuts during the speech. There's a time where he's publicly allowed to, or allowed to speak. We all get whatever 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and he goes way over the time limit. Yeah, I'm going to play the audio in a second. Intentionally doing a stunt, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. And they eventually cut his mic off. Then the sergeant at arms remove him, and then of course he intentionally gets everybody to himself and everybody else to fall down on the ground with him. And then people start getting mad at him. These are all leftists in the peanut gallery. And then he gets dragged out. Then he gets arrested and he spends the night in jail. Ha ha ha! Which is what should happen to you when you continue to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 seconds over the allotted time. You refuse to give up. You refuse to stop. You keep going, and then you're yelling, 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 get him out of here. This guy did this all for one reason. He wants to get noticed. He wants to be the official Democrat candidate. So he does what Democrats do. What's that clown in the junior senator in California, Padilla? Remember that? Alex Padilla, when he crashed a press conference and then started crying and then went outside and was crying and had a press conference where no questions. He interrupted her press conference, the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. But You can't ask questions at his press conference. You get it now? They can crash you, but you can't crash them. Sounds like a good Marxist socialist. Now, here he is. Here he is interrupting a hearing at the state capitol building. This 27-year-old Democrat, Isaiah Martin, trying to get noticed. This is his campaign. By the way, you'll hear in a minute, his final video I play for you, an audio, is him after he got out of jail. He spent the night in jail, which is where he belonged. And he's like, I want to thank all my supporters. Yeah, you and the what supporters? The 10 people? He's hoping this goes viral. Yeah. Anyways, whatever. Vapid stunt.
No, I'm not going to finish.
Witness's time has expired.
I'm not finished. Because ultimately, who doesn't have a say in this are the people of this state, the 40 million people that you guys just kicked
Witness
off
will
of
come to
healthcare,
order.
The people of this state.
The witness
The
witness is not
As
recognized.
a result of what you guys have done, this is a result of your policies. And you have no shame.
Okay.
You have no shame. None.
The witness.
Zero.
The witness.
You have no shame for what you've done. And I think that we all should be standing up here and
just cut off his mic. Cut off his mic. Okay. The gentleman will come to order. We will maintain decorum. The gentleman will be.
You're over 40 seconds now from when it was like a minute, and he kept going and going and going. So he just wanted to do this for a stunt.
We'll be reminded one last time. The gentleman will come to order immediately.
It goes on for another 20 or 30 seconds. Here's part two, which is my favorite. Now we're going to switch from the microphone at the hearing to some clown that he had, just like Alex Padilla, some intern or some friend recording it on his phone and following it so he could put it on social media. But this part's great because some people freak out, nearby leftists freak out that he's getting dragged away, and then he falls down, I think intentionally, and then the people dragging him away fall down on top of him. This is great. Here.
You need to have shame. History will not remember you for what you have done. It is a shame. It is horrific for what you have. Jesus, get off of him. It is horrific for what you have done. You should all be ashamed.
This is the most, I don't know, from a 1 to 10, 10 being the most fake, this is a 11. This is great. I love this guy. He's such a clown. All right, now here's the end. He's like, oh, you guys, want to thank all my supporters. After he got out of jail, they just let him out after a night and dropped the charges, but he spent a night in jail, which I think is fantastic. Anyways, here he is to his 5 followers trying to go viral, and here we go.
The Republican Party threw me in jail because I refused to sit idly by as they seek to redistrict our state and try to destroy our economy.
Hold on. What do you think if we were in a liberal Democrat state, like I feel in Chicago a lot, okay? Governor Pritzker and the Democrats that control everything in that state, including in Springfield, everything in Springfield. What do you think they would do to me if I showed up at a hearing and went a minute and a half over and was yelling and refusing to stop? All right, let's listen to this idiot for a few more seconds.
And they think that we're not going to say anything about it. They did this because I had the audacity to speak up. And you know what? I'm going to continue to have that audacity.
He doesn't mention that he was about a minute and a half past his time because that would be antithetical to what he's trying to do, the stunt.
Because strongly worded letters won't get us out of this mess. It takes speaking truth to power, no matter what the consequences are. I got a lot more to say. I'm going to get on the road tonight, be back in Houston tomorrow. Let's get to work.
Okay. Michigan, the man that was stabbing 11 people was grabbed at gunpoint. A man stopped him at gunpoint, and then a few others. There were 2 Marines that were aggressive. One in particular was unarmed that went after the guy first, and then the other Marine had just come from the shooting range practicing. Unfortunately, I don't think he carries regularly, but fortunately he was at this time. We should carry as much as we can wherever we are, just to be safe. The chances of you ever pulling it out, I've been carrying for 10, 11 years, I don't know. But the chances of me ever pulling out, I've never pulled it out, and I never will most likely. But the one time is the one time, so always carry if you can. Anyways, here's the audio. What I like about what they did was the loud commands, as if they're like a police officer. You I don't say scream, but you yell commands at the top of your lungs. Get on the ground now. Stuff like that. Here we go. Or drop the knife. Throw the knife. Drop the knife. Here we go. Here is that audio.
Throw the knife that way. Throw it away. Throw it away. Hey, he hasn't dropped it. Put it down. Okay, I'm going to stand. I don't care. Lay down. Nope.
He did a great job. The African American man with the gun and the other guy. Here's the one thing though. I mean, I was going to say this on social media, but people will probably read it the wrong way and freak out. So I'm going to say it here. Where I have a contextual. I can do it contextually properly. Basically, the one thing though, the guy with the gun, he's going like this. Dude, what is this? They say he's a Marine, and God bless him. This is not how you hold a firearm. Like this is 101. It's this. Boom. It's that. It's not like this, but just if I extend out that or this. You know what I mean? You actually you produce and then you go forward. And that's from the lessons I learned from some great folks here in the Metroplex. Anyway, so this is that's gangster where you don't know what you're doing. You shoot yourself on accident. Anyways, but I'm glad he did it, and I'm proud of those guys, and thank you. Jay Leno speaks out to what I've been saying on this podcast, and for years and years and years, I've been saying this on the air for 10, 20 years. Comedy only works if you start with the premise, or radio only works, or TV only works, or movies only work if you start with the premise of, I want to entertain and inform people. One or the other or both. Okay? And then the next thing is, if you want to make fun of this Republican or that Democrat, that's absolutely fine. But the whole late night has flipped its head, and it's particularly with Colbert and some of these other turds. What's his name? Crying Jimmy Kimmel. And their premise is, I hate Donald Trump and Republicans. Let's make comedy. You got to say, let's make comedy. Jay Leno even says in here exactly what I've said on the air. What do I say? And I've said for years, I don't care if you make fun of Trump. I don't care if you make fun of, at the time, George Bush. Just make me laugh. And that's what Jay Leno says. He actually says this. Why shoot for just half of an audience all the time? In talking about Colbert specifically. Why not try to get the whole? Said Leno, who's now 75. I don't understand why you would alienate one particular group, or just don't do it at all. I'm not saying you have to throw your support or whatever, but just do what's funny. And Johnny Carson, I played the soundbite for. I should have pulled it up, but Johnny Carson literally goes off for like a minute and a half in an interview way back when that he will never talk about politics. That it would destroy his community, his comedy show. And he also said, like, Red Skelton and others, you hear these people doing this crap? No. He says it goes down a dark path, a bad path, and it doesn't end well. It's all about entertaining people, and that's what Leno says. He says, I don't understand why you'd alienate one particular group, or just don't do it at all. I'm not saying you have to throw your support or whatever, but just do what's funny. In other words, you can still support leftists, just make funny stuff. He says it's funny when, when someone who's not ... when you make fun of their side and they laugh at it. Yes. Make fun of Trump. If I laugh at it, then it's funny. I don't care. This is a great little follow-up. This is from the New York Post as well. There was a rally, a New York City. Now, New York City has, I think, 14 or more million people in the 5 boroughs. And there was just a big rally that was advertised, everybody was encouraged to show up. We're with Colbert, a rally right outside of CBS's headquarters. Less than 24 people showed up. Like about 20 people. Quote, the Big Apple rally drew fewer than 24 people Sunday, says the New York Post, with even the New York NYPD cops on the scene quickly calling it a day since most of the demonstrators left after a few minutes because there was nobody there. They're embarrassed. I was going to play a sound, but it's like one guy talking. There's nobody else cheering. There's like 10 people in a little circle, and that was it. It was really funny. It was meant to be part of a nationwide call for integrity. How they should have invited the miserable chick that's mad about the American Eagle Sydney Sweeney commercial. We've always had the First Amendment, and now this one of 20 protesters that showed up outside of CBS. We've always had the First Amendment, but now Mango Mussolini. He doesn't want me laughing, but that's hysterical. Mango Mussolini is trying to take that from us. Nobody's taking anything from you, dude. Nobody's paying attention to you. All right, except for me, I guess, for a few seconds. MRC Newsbusters did research, they found out that Colbert had 176 liberal guests and only one Republican in the past 4 years. There you go. What else do I have for you? I have one more thing. I have two more things. Winning. Trump got the surprise deal with a trade deal with the EU, which is one of the absolute largest trading partners in the world. In fact, us two are the two biggest economies. One of the we're the number one economy. China's the number two, but this was a mega deal. And I'll just share a few things here. But actually, let's go first to the audio because the EU President Ursula von der Leyen was asked, "What did Trump give up?" Guess what the answer is? Nothing.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the EU Commission President. What are the U.S. concessions? What is the U.S. giving up in the deal, if anything?
So the starting point was an imbalance, a surplus on our side and a deficit on the U.S. side. And we wanted to rebalance the trade relation.
She's admitting that Trump was right about everything, that there was an imbalance. And so one of the things I wrote here that I want to share with you is they're our friends. The Europeans are our friends, whether we like it or not, or whether you like it or not, they're our friends. And friends, like Trump said before, friends don't rip friends off. We don't rip each other off. It's like stiffing somebody. Remember when you were young, you went to Denny's, and the nice guy, the best friend of all we all had is in the middle, and he would take the bill, and we would all give him what we owed him, but somehow he was stiffed, and he had to spend an extra $5-10, and he's like, "What is this?" And everybody would chip in more, hopefully. Friends don't rip friends off like that. We don't stiff each other. This was mostly pushed on by German Chancellor Friedrich. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this. Friedrich Merz, and he said that Brussels needs to make concessions. He pointed to recent comments from Merz. He pressed for a quick agreement. It would be better to be quick and easy than lengthy and complicated and still in negotiating status for months. Germany is the largest economy in the EU. Period. Great Britain already did a deal with us separately because they Brexited, which they were very smart to do that. So here's a huge point, and I'll play the rest of their soundbite. I'll actually just start it over in a second and not interrupt it the next time. This is crazy. The LNG deal that they agreed to, $750 billion in energy products, and then second of all, they're going to invest $600 billion in the U.S. And from now on, the tariff that the EU will pay, all European goods are going to be tariffed. We get no tariff going in, but they will be tariffed 15% on everything. Now, let me play the rest of this for you. But the one coolest point of the world here, the biggest point in the world I want to share with you here is that Putin, LNG, as far as the EU, they were paying in the past 2 or 3 years with the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. The Europeans were paying more to Putin for liquid natural gas for their energy than they were to aid to Ukraine. Do you understand this? The EU spent more money giving it to Putin for energy up here than they did down here for Ukraine. This should be nowhere, and this should be here. That's now going to take place. Can you believe they spent more giving Putin money for LNG, liquid natural gas, than they did to Ukraine for aid? And they're the ones who this is happening in their back doors. This is what I talked about for years, the fat sausage fingers of the Europeans. They're spoiled, they're fat and lazy, and they don't want to do anything until it's too late. Trump made them. Do you remember when Angela Merkel was at the table and he said, "Here's a white flag. You need this because you're surrendering, because you want to do this pipeline deal with Russia. You want to have them provide all the gas, and they're their enemy. They're going to control you." Well, here we go.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the EU Commission President. What are the U.S. concessions? What is the U.S. giving up in the deal, if anything?
So the starting point was an imbalance, a surplus on our side and a deficit on the U.S. side. And we wanted to rebalance the trade relation. And we wanted to do it in a way that trade goes on between the two of us across the Atlantic, because the two biggest economies should have a good trade flow between us. And I think we hit exactly the point we wanted to find. Rebalance, but enable trade on both sides, which means good jobs on both sides of the Atlantic, means prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic. And that was important for us.
Ja, das ist gut, no? Last thing I wanted to share with you. Zorhan Mamdani is in Uganda. He has $1 million plus compound, he and his family, and they just got married. He and his wife had their official marriage ceremony, even though they eloped, I guess, in February. And he's in the middle of his campaign, but he stealed away because he knows he's gonna win. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But, this is exactly what, communism does. He seizes all the means of productions. He, takes over, the stores. He, buys up private property and makes it, communes. That's Marxism. That's communism. But yet he and his family will not lose their wealth. The power will be consolidated with few. Whereas the founders of this country, more inspired by Mark Levin from his show, Sunday night. It's pretty late right now, if you can't tell. But, inspired by, Levin talking about how, Marxism, communism, takes away our individuality. It punishes us for, private property as an expression of our time, our investment of our time, going to work and buying these things and owning these things. Marxist communists do not want individualism. They don't want they don't want the individual to have power. They want the government to have the power. This is very dangerous. But look at how he rolls on $1 million compound in the one of the richest neighborhoods, period, in all of Uganda. Mass security guards, military style masked men with look at this 20 special forces commando unit guards. Um, this is how he rolls. A gate, 9 guards stationed at one of the gates alone, and Mercedes, Range Rovers. People down the street say, for us, it's just about survival. We're just trying to win the bread and make sure our family's okay. Another one down the street says about the mayor of New York. Hey, we heard he was going to be mayor of New York. He made it over to America. We want to know how we can get free visas to the U.S. and travel to New York like he did. No, no, no. You won't be able to do that. You're not wealthy and privileged like he is. So, anyways, he has armed guards. He has a compound. He lives in $1 million house. His parents pay for everything. He admitted that when he ran out of money, his parents pay for whatever. He's fine. They're spotting him for everything. They're gonna take care of him. His dad hates Jews. I think he teaches at Columbia. Mom's a director that did a Disney movie and such. Anyway, so there you have it. The communist Marxist has his wedding with the military kind of guarding his compound out of his wealth, and he wants his private property. He has his private property in Uganda, but not you and me. And he lives in a rent-controlled apartment with his wife. I think he's going to get the. I think he's going to get the. I think he's going to win the election. He already won the nomination. I think he's going to win. You see, almost all. This is funny because when he won, the night he won, it was literally a theater filled with almost all white people, and the average people that vote for him. I saw some of the stats and some of the research are people that make around $1 million a year, which in Manhattan's probably more like making 5, 6, 700,000, about 5 or 600,000 in North Texas, or same thing about Chicago, maybe 6 or 700,000 in Chicago. Um, but nonetheless, this whole thing, if you look at this, absolutely ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It's getting late. I will see you in the morning. I'm doing San Antonio, 10 a.m. on KTSA in San Antonio, and I'll be back on in Omaha 2 to 6. Hasta mañana.